It is 5 o'clock somewhere, and you've tuned into Season 2, Episode 22, the second half of Barrel Room Chronicles Season 2 finale. For those of you who'd like to watch this episode, I highly recommend it. We're live in Belfast, Northern Ireland. You can view Season 2 on our website, YouTube, Spotify, Zencaster, and WhiskyNetwork.net. I'm Carrie Moynihan, and in today's Tales from the Still, I speak with McConnell Whisky's head distiller, Graham Miller, and CEO John Kelly from a very noisy distillery construction site at the Crumlin Road Jail in Belfast. But before I don my hard hat, Sarah Kennedy takes me to the friend-at-hand whiskey shop and museum for today's Tavern Talk, where I speak with the whiskey novice himself, Jim Ingram, and his co-worker, Ray Gallen. Then later in the show, I sit down with Sarah Kennedy to finally taste McConnell's whiskey. Stay with us. Don't touch that device. We'll be right back with Tavern Talk.
Tua, from the Old Irish for family or nation, is a conical-shaped nosing and tasting glass for whiskey that functions superbly by concentrating and capturing all the aromas and flavours that make Irish whiskey unique. The generosity of Irish spirit is reflected in the enhanced capacity of this beautiful unleaded crystal glass, delivering a more generous drinking experience. With the rebirth of Irish whiskey production, the development of new world-class distilleries and visitor centres, and the development of the Irish Whiskey Tourism Trail, it's time for a contemporary glass to become the iconic symbol unifying Irish whiskey drinkers around the world. Tua, the Irish whiskey glass.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Carrie, I'm very well. Thank you for asking.
Oh, thanks for having us come in here. This is the best little shop I've ever seen. It's got ancient whiskey. It's got new whiskey. It's got the Friends at Hand whiskey, which I want to ask you about. Mm-hmm. And, of course, McConnell's whiskey, which I can't wait to taste later with Sarah. Now, tell me about this shop. When did it open? How long has it been here? And what's the history behind it?
This shop opened in 2016. It's owned by a gentleman here in Belfast called Willie Jack, who's a big proponent. He really, really promotes Belfast in general, but he's a collector. He's a whiskey man. He knows old whiskey. He knows new whiskey. And I knew the man long before he opened the shop, and I remember him telling me the story of the Friend at Hand. Here's what it's going to be. Here's what it's going to look like. And I hadn't a clue what he was talking about, because he explains things in such a way. I consider him an eccentric genius. He talks about things in such a way that his head's working at 200 miles an hour. So he explained it, couldn't figure out what was going on. When I seen it open, I couldn't believe it. It was better than I could ever have believed it was going to be, because it's almost Harry Potter-esque is the way I think of it, and to the point where it has been said, and it has been said recently, that you don't choose a whiskey in here, the whiskey chooses you.
That sounds like the ones to me.
So yes, all Irish whiskey. We have so many operating distilleries in Ireland now. It's so great to see Ireland back on the whiskey map. And as many as we have on our shelves, we still don't even represent every distillery that's out there.
Wow. Okay, so tell me about this wall back here. It looks like it's almost all Middleton.
That is the full Middleton Barry Crockett selection from its birth right through until we have 2021 heading down here. So 1984 it started. And it wasn't, I don't know whether they thought it was going to be a series at that point. So 1984 isn't actually stamped on the first bottle.
Oh, okay.
But every year after that, signed by Barry Crockett, the head distiller down there at the time.
Wow. And
right through, as I say, until 2021.
So what do you think is your oldest whiskey in the shop?
In the for sale or
no,
in
just
the museum
here.
part
the
of
museum
things?
Part, yeah.
Museum part of things, we would go back, we're back to very early Redbreasts, so that was 1912 Redbreast appeared on the map first, so we've some of the very, very early editions of them. We have bottles which I'm sure are older than that, into the late 19th century.
Wow.
Very hard to date. Some of them, we've had this debate about when the E was invented, or when the E was added to Irish whiskey, and whether that would perhaps date them. But we have even spoken to some historians who can't quite nail that date down as to when that E was added. So if we knew that, then we could probably date the bottles.
Got it. And I See, over there you had a really old original McConnell. What's that one? How old is that one?
That would probably be going back into the late 19th century. I mean, McConnell's McConnell's had a couple of fires in the late or the early 20th century, and the second one of them was 1909. So you're looking probably prior to that then that bottle's from, or around that time, you know. So
wow.
It's.
And then how many bottles in here are for the museum only?
There's over 400 different bottles of whiskey in the museum.
Okay.
And that's not the owner's full collection. That's
so I see you're starting some construction in the back there.
Yes.
What's happening next door?
That is going to be the museum. That will be a museum, a whiskey museum and a half, because it's taking what we have now, adding the rest of his collection. Plus, as I said, he's a big supporter of Belfast itself. He tries to promote Belfast, so he has an awful lot of curios, etc., from Belfast history. So it'll be the museum, down the back, high-class, high-end tasting room.
Very cool. Okay, now I would love to hear more about the friend at hand. You have your own whiskey here. Now, can anybody get this anywhere, or can you only get it?
You can only get this in the friend at hand shop. It's a 13-year-old single malt, produced. The spirit was produced by Bushmills, but it's selected by us, bottled especially for us. It's 13 in the series, and they all get 13 years in ex-bourbon casks. And then we have a few with finishes. We have a sherry finish, we have a red wine finish, we have a peated one, we have a cask strength. Every one comes with their own story. And they're probably, I would say they are the best seller in the shop, simply because they're hard to get. And as someone said earlier, when someone buys the first bottle, they buy it on a chance almost, but when they taste the whiskey and realise how good it is, then they come back for a second.
And how long have you guys been producing this one?
The series started when the shop opened in 2016, and we've added to it just in the 6 years that the shop has been open. The series has built up and built up and built up, and to the point where the series should have been complete by now, but when COVID hit, lockdowns, etc., everything sort of got held back a little. So we're still one bottle short of the complete series. So
okay.
That'll finish.
Do you guys know when that one's going to come out?
Hopefully early next year. Hopefully 2023, early 2023 is the aim.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jeff.
You're very welcome, Kerry. Thank you.
Hi, Ray. How are you?
I'm grand, Kerry. How are you?
Good. So I was talking to Jim earlier about the shop, and I just love it. And now we're looking at the what I call the Harry Potter stairs with whiskey instead of his room. And you started working here when?
The shop opened about 6 years ago, and I've been here since the very first day.
So were you always a whiskey entrepreneur or a whiskey aficionado?
Well, I was a barman. I've been a barman since I was 16 years of age, and obviously have a knowledge of whiskey.
Okay. What is your favorite whiskey? That's a hard one.
It is, exactly. But working in the shop, I always say to everybody, you should never have one favourite whiskey, because to me, the joy of drinking whiskey is playing around with different flavours.
I agree with that. In this shop, do you have one bottle in here that you admire the most out of the collection of history ones?
No, because I feel it's very unfair to pick on one and say that's the best whiskey in the shop. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a top 10.
Okay.
But which one I would pick as being number one, I would vary.
So tell me a little bit about the neighborhood. I know this is an older part, and there's a lot of history in this area. Tell me why maybe this area was picked for this spot, for this shop.
Yep, this area is called the Cathedral Quarter. Smaller area, it's called the Half Bap, and there was lots of little bonded warehouses or distilleries in around the area. In 1900, there was 13 different Belfast whiskies, and most of them were based around this area.
1300?
No, 13.
Oh, 13.
In 1900, there was 13 distilleries that had Belfast whiskies, Belfast whiskey.
Wow.
Exactly, and even Bushmills' head offices was literally just across the road from us.
Wow. So in Belfast, they haven't had a distillery in how long?
100 years, exactly.
100 years.
But next year there should be two opening.
Which two are those?
McConnell's and Titanic are both going to be
Titanic is opening too. Okay, great. So tell me about you just said the two whiskeys that are coming in are McConnell's and Titanic. Now tell me about McConnell's. McConnell's was here before, yes?
McConnell's was an old Chronic distillery just the other side of the Lagan on Ravenhill Road, and it's been long gone, been gone 100 years, but it has now been resurrected. The name McConnell's has now been resurrected again. They are building a distillery in Crumlin Road Jail. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to have a visitor centre, it's going to have a gift shop, you're going to be able to walk around and see the whole distilling process. Oh, it's going to be fantastic and great for Belfast.
That's great. Are you going to try to be there when they bring the pot stills through the roof?
I have been invited to the opening, exactly.
Great. Well, Ray, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Carrie, thanks a million.
All right. Tavern Talk will continue in a moment with McConnell's brand manager, Sarah Kennedy. Like what you've seen on BRC? Want to see more? Experience more? And maybe even taste more? Then head over to our Ko-fi site and become a member of the Barrel Room Parlor. By choosing the copper level membership, you'll have exclusive access to videos related to topics discussed on the podcast and blog posts for members only. As an Amber member level, you'll enjoy everything from our copper level as well as various spin-off series including The Cutting Room Floor and Kindred Spirits. In addition, the Amber membership includes exclusive discounts to live in-person events. To join, visit www.barrelroomchronicles.com and click on Become a Member in the navigation bar. Or go straight to our Ko-fi site at ko-fi.com/BRC and click on the membership link. Once you've joined, you'll have access to everything your chosen level has to offer. You'll even be able to participate with the show by commenting on videos and other posts. Don't wait. Sign up today for exclusive content and event discounts in the Barrel Room Parlor. All right, so I think it's time we start tasting these. I'm going to give you my glass here, my McConnell's glass. Beautiful Irish glass.
Yeah, that's the Tua glass. It's the Irish whiskey glass.
It's the answer to the Glencairn. I think it's prettier.
It is really pretty.
Sorry, Glencairn.
It's made by a girl called Rosie, and she's just fabulous female in the Irish whiskey industry.
All right, let's taste this.
Yeah, well, Sláinte.
Sláinte. Let's do a nose.
So on the nose, again, it is a blended Irish whiskey, and it's 5 years old, and it's aged for those 5 years in first fill bourbon casks.
I was going to say, I smell bourbon on here.
So you do get the bourbon nose as well.
It's a little vanilla, little flower, yeah.
I'm going to let you say it, and then I'll
No, you say it. I'm no good at, I'm so bad at that part.
So you do get a lot of...
Until they're strawberry. We have this running joke, because the other day there was something, I'm like, am I getting strawberry? And they all looked at me like I was crazy. And he said banana. I said, no, maybe it's strawberry banana.
Strawberry as well. Like, you do get that a lot. And because the strain of yeast that's used in Irish whiskey, you get a lot of fruit.
Yeah.
So I get, do you know like honeydew melon?
Yes. Yes.
Freshly cut honeydew melon.
A little cantaloupe too.
Yeah. Also, it is a bit of a floral note on there, which we do pair.
I'm going in.
Yeah, going in.
Oh my, that's a lovely blend.
It is. So it's a little bit longer than it is our standard blend. It's our core product. 5 years old instead of the 3 years old. We put the age statement on the bottle. It's also 42% ABV or 84 proof. So slightly higher ABV than some of the blended whiskies in the category that would be 40% or 80 proof. And it just has some of those characteristics come through a little bit more. So the spiciness really comes through in the end.
It has a grassy note on the palate with a spicy kick at the end. Does this have any single pot in it?
It doesn't. It's a full blend of Irish grain and Irish malt.
Okay, it's the grain then, because I'm the grassy note is.
It's probably coming through in the grain. Yeah, the grain. So it's 40% malted barley and 60% grain whiskey.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
I respect the blends.
Yeah.
And I think if you can make a good blend, then you're amazing, because you have to not only get the flavor profile of your one single malt, but then everything else that you're getting, and you have to perfectly be able to blend it into one flavor.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard. So if you can do a really good blend, yes, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is really good. I'm very impressed.
Because blended whiskey, I think, sometimes gets a bit of a bad rep, because I think there's an art that comes to a blend. You need to make sure that the two components really match each other.
Yeah.
Also,
if you're just going, oh, let's just sell some stuff and pouring it together, and then And those are the type, the ones that I could afford. Those were
Yeah.
what they were. But now as I've gotten into the more mature blends, people are doing a really good job. And you guys did a fine job with that.
Can we try this one? 'Cause
yes,
I'm
please.
really interested in your opinion on this one.
Yes.
Because this is a bit of an experiment for us in that we didn't really change very much other than the cask finishing. So let's pour some of this one.
So this one's also a blend.
This is also a blend. It is,
Oh, I do smell the sherry notes on that.
it's very heavy sherry. So as I said, it's a bit of an experiment in that we've kept, the blend is the same. It's 5 years old as well. It's just got an extra 6 months in an Oloroso sherry cask. And they're, old Oloroso sherry butts that we source from Portugal. They're Spanish Oloroso sherry butts. They're around 26-year-old sherry butts, so there's lots of heavy notes in there.
It's got a really good color too. You can see the difference in the color.
Yeah, it is a bit more rustic too.
yeah.
It's non-chill filtered. The first product is chill filtered. The second product isn't chill filtered.
Okay.
And the
That
second,
would explain why it's a little more oily on the glass.
yeah, it's also got a little bit of a hue to it.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Amazeballs.
Yeah. So the flavor
Amazeballs.
changes completely.
Oh yeah, so it's basically the same juice.
Same
and then
component. Yeah.
That's crazy different.
And it kind of shows you, like, that's what I mean by
It's got
innovation and a
chocolate at
story.
The late finish, there's a chocolate.
And a bit of a leathery note. Mm-hmm. There's a leathery sort of raisin note too as well comes through.
Raisin, that's it.
Yeah. And it's 46% ABV. So it's higher ABV just slightly because we wanted the product to be non-chill filtered. But it's a fab whiskey. And it does show you the difference that a cask can do to a blended
How many months did you say it was finished?
6.
6. Wow, just only 6. And it's
know.
that big a difference.
It's
Wow.
first fill though, so you really get those notes
Right.
come through, really punchy, and it's just worth noting as well because I know you've travelled the whole way from LA that McConnell's is available in all 50 states. So,
That is a feat of itself because we have the stupid 3-tier system, which is still left over from Prohibition. And I know Americans that don't have their products in all 50 states.
yeah, well, that's what I mean. I think it's brilliant because anyone who kind of follows me on Instagram or anyone who asks me where to get it and they're in America, it's very easy for me. You go on the website, put your zip code in, and it tells you exactly where to buy
Perfect.
it. It's a little bit harder in some of the markets across Europe because we don't have that data to be able to tell someone exactly where to get it, but we can in the US.
Up next, we'll be on location in some loud places, but we've done our best to filter out the excess noise. Tales from the Still is next. I'm here at McConnell's Distillery in an old jail from 1846.
46.
It's now turning into a distillery. I'm here with Graham Miller, who's the master distiller, and John Kelly, who's the head of this whole project.
Thank you.
And
Welcome.
Thank you. We're here today. There, as you can hear in the background, a lot of construction is going on. I was visiting the McConnell's Distillery construction site to watch the lowering of the mash tun and the pot stills through the roof of the jail, as well as to get a tour of the distillery and try to interview John and Graham. I started the interview by asking John why he decided to start working on the project, when McConnell's began its resurrection, and how long the construction had been going on for.
Well, the project's been going on for a few years. I'm from North Belfast. I actually went to school literally just over the prison wall from where we're sitting now, between 1983 and 1990. This was a fully operational jail back in those days. And we were chatting earlier, I told you that at one point I remember one lunchtime the prisoners had actually scaled the walls onto the roof of the building. So I'm from North Belfast. I love this part of the city. I've been in this industry for over 30 years, so kind of in the beer side and then in the spirit side. Worked for Diageo for quite a long time. Worked for an Irish whiskey company in the south of Ireland. And I was approached a few years ago, told about the project, and how could I not get involved in such a wonderful opportunity? You know, my industry, my part of Belfast, and here we are doing our bit to bring the distilling of Irish whiskey back to Belfast.
And then, Graham, how did you get involved?
Well, I've been distilling for I suppose quite a number of years, and whenever John spoke to me initially, I have to say I was maybe a little reticent about making a move, but after about 5 minutes. It convinced me that it's a good idea. It's very persuasive.
And where did you move from?
So I was the distiller at Ecklandville Distillery, so Dunville's Whisky, and John Buxton would probably be my two sort of closest brands that I've been involved with there. And again, from startup. But I, like John also, I was with Diageo for a number of years. And I was involved with the Captain Morgan's rum distillery in St. Croix, in the SVI.
Wow.
With that as a startup project. So, I mean, again, for me, I grew up only a couple of miles from where John grew up, North Belfast. For me, it's so special just to be able to do this in this place. And, you know, the liquid that we create from here will be unique from this place.
Yeah. So you guys have 2 expressions out right now. They're both 5-year. And where are you getting those made currently?
So we have a long-term agreement with the Great Northern Distillery in Dundalk, who distill and mature for us. We're quite unique in that we buy all of our liquid as new fill, and then we mature over the course of the 5 years. Then Graham looks after the kind of all of that process, plus the bottling, the maturation for the sherry finish. In the future, we'll also be bringing aged Irish whiskey into the portfolio. So we'll talk to you more about that in the coming months.
Since it was becoming more and more obvious the workers weren't going to take a break anytime soon, we decided to end the interview early and continue on with the tour. They showed me several of the rooms and what plans they had for each of the spaces. Up next, John gives us a virtual tour of what the distillery should look like upon its completion. Stay with us.
There's nothing better than the smell of coffee in the morning. What if you could enjoy a coffee subscription of fresh, roasted specialty coffee while making a difference in the lives of the farmers that grow it? What if you also had access to a virtual coffee community of other coffee lovers and the coffee farmer and roaster? That's all part of the Farm to Cup Coffee Club subscription at Unleashed Coffee. Subscribe today. UnleashedCoffee.com.
All right. Well, look, the great news is, Kerry, we are on schedule with our construction to open in the autumn or the fall of this year. So our hope and expectation is to be opening the McConnell's Distillery and Visitor Experience in October or November of 2023. In terms of what we've got to offer you, the building is actually on 3 floors. We've got the ground floor reception area. You then step up onto the first floor where we cover off the kind of milling and mashing. And then lastly, you'll move into the second floor where we'll do all of the kind of VIP tasting, the cocktail and blending experience, and the bar and event space. So an experiential opportunity across 3 floors here in North Belfast. What we're looking at now is the plan for the ground floor. You'll come in through the entrance, the retail area, ticketing, retail will be right in front of you. Also an opportunity for purchasing, merchandise from McConnell's, and then gathering maybe for a coffee or an Irish coffee or a Belfast coffee before you take the tour experience. So this is what it's going to look like. Lovely kind of soft furnishing. You can see these kind of steel structures which are really holding the building up at the moment. Keep in mind that this was a Victorian prison. All of the lines that you're seeing in this particular slide actually were the lines of the cells that we had in here. So in terms of the construction of the building, we've removed all of the cells. And this visual is a great visual where it kind of demonstrates how we're holding the building up. We're really using these kind of steel structures to be a focal point for the McConnell's brand, and these will be coloured exactly as per the label on our 5-year-old blend. You can see in this particular picture that we've also kept the steel staircase that once would have been used by the prisoners at the Crumlin Road Jail, which was built in 1846. So where possible, we're absolutely keeping those kind of elements that we have from the days of the jail. And then you're going to move up into the first floor. And as you move into the first floor, the first room that you're going to get to is the McConnell's boardroom. Set back in the 1800s, you've got John and James McConnell there, the silhouettes of those two great men who, along with their mother, kind of brought the brand to the fore here in Belfast and to all of the four corners of the world. So the tour group will gather here. The tour size will be somewhere between 16 and 20 people. And the tour guide will use this particular space to talk all about the McConnell's brand, how it was born in Belfast in 1776, making it one of the oldest brands in the Irish whiskey category. So old, in fact, that it predates the introduction of the letter E, and therefore, we don't have E in the spelling of whiskey because we predate that. So all of the history of the brand will be talked about here. And the fact that today we have 2 award-winning releases, our 5-year-old blend and our sherry cask finish. We'll talk about the copper pot stills, the production of triple distilled single malt Irish whiskey. And that's what the McConnell's distillery will become world renowned for one more time. We're going to focus on producing single malt Irish whiskey from the 3 copper pots that we've purchased from Forsyths. And then you come out of the boardroom and we move into milling and mashing. And this is really where you start to see, feel, hear, smell, all of those great senses that you have whenever you visit, a fully operational production facility, which is what J&J McConnell's distillery will be. We have the opportunity to produce 500,000, that's 500,000 LPAs of single malt whiskey per year, 4 million bottles of our blended 5-year-old. The tour will progress through the whole kind of production facility, looking at the milling and mashing. Here's another visual of the grind machine here on the right-hand side, an opportunity to kind of, really taste the barley and the malt that's sitting here. So again, very experiential. Moving forward through the still house then, and again, upwards to the 2nd floor. So we've moved from the ground floor across the 1st floor where you kind of see the whole manufacturing plant, and then upwards again to the 2nd floor where we'll take a look at maturation and tasting and start to get into the experiential opportunities that we have in the visitor experience. We then move into a number of areas that can be added on to the tour as such. One is this VIP tasting room. This we will probably call the governor's office. Beautiful velvet seats here. A real opportunity for, Graham Miller, our master distiller, to talk to some of the VIPs who are visiting us, some of our distributor partners, and a lovely space for you to kind of sit and relax. Some of the premium age malts that we'll be introducing to the McConnell's portfolio moving forward. Another visual here of the governor's office. You can see how in this particular visual, we really are trying to hold on to as much as possible of the jail facility that we're operating within. So you can see the cage here behind at the back of the visual. You can see the small cell windows to the right-hand side. We really are trying to hold on to as much of the jail as is possible. And then we'll have 2 kind of experiential rooms. One, a cocktail experience. Here you get the opportunity to kind of mix your own cocktails, learn what it's like to be a bartender, a mixologist. What are the preferred kind of serves for McConnell's? And that whole kind of opportunity to learn how to be a mixologist and learn how to mix McConnell's with different kind of drinks recipes. And then in this particular room, it's what we're calling our blending experience room. You'll learn a lot more about the 3 styles of Irish whiskey: grain, malt, and pot whiskey, and an opportunity to kind of introduce water to the product that's here and blend your own whiskies. Effectively, the cocktail room and the blending room are kind of a mirror image of each other. So again, you can see really well here how we're holding on to some of the traits of the jail from when it was built back in the 1800s. And that takes us further along the second floor towards our bar and event space. And the tour will finish here. So we've got a beautiful kind of opportunity for you to go relax after the tour, have a McConnell's. This bar and event space will also have other, alcohol products available. But of course, we'll be encouraging people to, having tried the 5-year-old, the sherry, or the aged portfolio, to come and join us for one of our McConnell's drinks that will be available here. A wonderful area, light streaming through, glass floor, an opportunity to walk back up through the distillery so that you can see, hear, smell all of the kind of things that are going on in our distillery, which will be just up the corridor from you. And then lastly, the Belfast Distillery Company boardroom, a space that we can utilise for corporate events, for our own team meetings, or to invite, some of our distributor partners from around the world to hold their own events here. So that's it, Kerry. A quick run through of the J&J McConnell's Distillery and Visitor Experience opening in the autumn of this year. We look forward to welcoming you and welcoming all of your fans that are out there. Thank you.
That's a wrap on Season 2. Join me next season with guests including Madhu Khenna from Endry Indian Single Malt Whisky, returning guest Jesse Parker from Doc Swinson's Whisky, Alan Davis from Chambers Bay Distillery, Brian Summers from Tuning Spoon, and Joe Bennett from Old Soldier Distillery, to name a few. To learn more about McConnell's Irish Whiskey, see our website for today's show notes. That does it for today's show. To read notes on this episode or learn more about our guests, please visit barrelroomchronicles.com. Want to interact with the show or have questions for our guests? Then ask them on our socials or send us an email through our website. Or better yet, leave us a voicemail on our website and your recording might be played in our new Speakeasy segment. If you like what you heard, please rate and subscribe to the podcast. If you really liked it and you want to show your support, buy us a whiskey through our Ko-fi site at ko-fi.com/BRC or become an exclusive member of the Barrel Room Parlor, where you'll get exclusive content not seen anywhere else. If you work in the whiskey or spirits industry or just have a deep passion for whiskey and want to share your spirits journey, register to be a guest through our website. Last but not least, please enjoy your spirits responsibly. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, Solanjava.
Barrel Room Chronicles is a production of First Reel Entertainment and is distributed by Spotify for podcasters, and is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Amazon, and wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts.